Walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
This is what I was just greeted by Stugotz with as he eased into his chair. I got this rat-a-tat-tat of the calisthenics that he does before we start. I actually wrote it all down.
You did, huh?
In a sing-song voice, he said, Chief's schedule is easy peasy.
It is.
The rest of the way.
Yeah.
Then he asks me, did you know that J.J. Watt and Brian Cushing are brothers-in-law? Do you think they do the national anthem before Thanksgiving dinner?
They have to, right? I mean, they have to.
Yeah, they just break each other's noses and then start singing the either the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance, one or the other. But this was my favorite part. I'm quoting directly here.
All right.
I'm fat, not me, him.
Right.
Though me as well. I'm quoting him saying, I'm fat.
You said it, not me.
You did say it.
I said I was fat.
That's what I said.
Well, you're saying you're fat, and I wasn't even thinking that you're fat.
I know, but you said you didn't say I'm fat. You said of yourself, I'm fat. But this is what you followed it with.
You said not me, but you are. I mean, I don't know where we are with this, but.
You said the words that you were fat. But then what you followed with was even better.
Yeah, I'm not certain that's the way it went down. But
well, he would have said the words, I'm fat.
That's what he said. That's correct.
But you said the words, I'm fat.
I was
now I'm
him.
saying the words,
That's
I'm
right.
fat.
We're all saying I'm fat, but not meaning that I'm fat, even though I am indeed fat.
I think we all mean I'm fat, though, while saying
I mean it.
Yeah.
But what came afterwards was this. Yet another insincere apology from Stugotz. Put it on the poll, please, Juju at Le Batard Show. Does Stugotz lead the world in insincere apologies? He says, apologies if it smells in here during the show. I had a Dairy Queen blizzard.
Oh, no.
I did.
To which my response was, this morning?
Last night, man. I'm telling you, my stomach, I'm not feeling well, Dan. My daughters are home from school. We're watching the game last night. They wanted blizzards. I announced a couple of weeks ago, my days of dancing with ice cream are done. Carvel, done. But a blizzard, I cannot resist.
Would you go Oreo?
I went Oreo and Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Good choice.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you hold it upside down?
I did not, no. But apologies in advance to everyone here. Yeah.
Well,
Hold it upside
did you get
down.
it delivered? Because that could be a dangerous game.
Delivered, yes. Yeah.
Could have melted, and then you tip it, and it pours out.
It did melt. I ate it. I went right through it.
Put it on the poll, please. Dairy Queen Blizzard, can you resist it? And also, which of these flavors do you go with on Dairy Queen Blizzard? You have to choose from these three, Reese's Pieces, Oreo, or Heath Bar, because Heath Bar was my weakness a million years ago. The Dairy Queen Blizzard is the most magical of the ice creams, is it not?
Yes.
A Cold Stone is pretty close. I'd put Cold Stone in the category, but
I go Cold Stone over Dairy Queen.
Is Cold Stone still doing the show when you walk in?
Yeah.
They do that whole thing?
Yeah, follow me to the stone.
Yeah, don't like it. Just give me the ice cream.
You don't like your ice cream mashed with something?
Spare me the entertainment.
Mash my ice cream with a brownie.
Yeah, just put ice cream in a cup and give it to me, please.
It really delays the process, too.
Yeah.
The line's always long, and it's like, can we just get to it?
They're like doing like 7 folds with this thing. It's like 3's fine.
They also use like the things almost like squeegees that you scrape like your windshield with. Like, just use a spoon, man.
It's almost like they're cocking a hole.
put it on
well,
C-A-L-K.
Oh, no, C-A-U-L-K.
That's a fine. Yeah.
You never cocked a hole?
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you need the whole Cirque du Soleil act with your Cold Stone ice cream? Now, Lucy is here today, and when I initially saw her, I thought she was Jessica. What is the costume that you're wearing today?
I am paying off a punishment. I am the Swift, so the Exorcist plus Taylor Swift. This is pretty miserable. I won't say I'm having a good time. The wig is itchy. The fake vomit keeps falling off.
Right.
I don't like it. I'm not having fun, but that's why they call it a punishment.
You are adhering. You have been a model employee. You've done more punishments, I think, than anybody else here this year, even though you're not losing more than everyone else
I
here.
did Rocky last week. I mean,
Well, you all won this week. You all.
You look like E.T.
After saying you were fat, you did say you were going to. Juju ruled in Billy's absence that you have to do an hour
right.
of shirtless content this week. So we've got 2 days remaining for you to do the shirtless content this week, based on Deion
This
Dawkins.
week,
The
I
Bill.
mean-
That's what you said you were doing. The Bills
Right.
lineman who came into the game last week shirtless, or came into the stadium last week through the metal detector shirtless.
But you said I'm fat. I mean,
You said you were going to do this week, and Juju ruled that you were going to do it this week, and it's 1 hour that you have to do of shirtless content.
I say a lot of things, Dan. How about we do it after Thanksgiving? How about that?
Well,
You
were
think
gonna-
you're going to be in better shape after Thanksgiving?
doing?
Yeah, I might. There's a good chance. I mean,
There's
I'm
not a
certainly
good
not in good
chance.
shape this week. I had a blizzard last night.
Yeah, but
I mean,
you said last week you needed 6 days to do ab exercises. You said you were going to do that all week, and you took a before picture.
I did.
You did a before picture
did.
in the Rocky gear with the idea that you would this week then do the shirtless picture.
Right.
I need
more time, Dan.
I mean, Stugots, you still owe a poem from 4 years ago. The Clevelander stage you were supposed to do it on no longer exists.
How about I do the poem this week and I do the shirtless hour in a couple of weeks?
This isn't a negotiation. You said you were going to do this.
All right. I guess I'll do it. I mean, shirtless hour coming up tomorrow.
I don't think I want to wait till tomorrow because you're going to
What
wait.
do you mean? You said till the end of the week. Tomorrow's the end of the week.
But you're gonna hope we forget, Stugots. It's one of your chief styles of how it is that you do things.
Yeah.
Man, Billy.
Not today,
Billy,
Dan. I had Dairy Queen.
Billy,
I
don't
had
know.
Dairy Queen.
I don't know
DQ.
what your greatest frustration is with Stugots, but very high on the list has to be the perpetual kicking of things down the road. Like very few people I've ever met in my existence love to say, and I'll do this in a day until things start clogging up at the end of the week. Where does that rank in terms
short
of
week,
your
yeah.
weekly frustrations with Stugots?
We do have busier last days of the week typically because the things have gotten pushed back later in the week. So I feel somewhat responsible for this because I'm trying to rule here with an iron fist. So we're gonna have to start, adhering to some rules here. Last week there was accusations of shenanigans. There's been some games being played with the Golden Helmet of Life. I was actually going to do this and make this announcement because I have an announcement to make here on behalf officially as the commissioner of the Grid of Death. I was going to do this because I have to do a punishment dressed as John Skipper, and I was going to do it in my costume as John Skipper because I feel like then you guys would have taken it more seriously. However, the problem is Skip sometimes just appears here, so I'm very skittish to pay off this punishment because I don't want to be dressed as him a day that he comes here. And the last time I was going to dress like him, he actually did show up that day, so I'm like, thank goodness I didn't do it that day. So we're going to have to get a schedule of when he's going to be here so I can do this when he's not here because it's going to be such a good costume, there's going to be confusion. However, last week there was some shenanigans and accusations about Tony pulling out the Golden Helmet of Life and then a swap that was pulled directly after. Now, it's come to my attention that Tony has done this trick multiple times where every week he's been pulling out the Golden Helmet of Life, and we have multiple Golden Helmets of Life that are being pulled at the same time. So this is what I'm thinking is the only fair and just thing to do. There will be no more Golden Helmet of Life in play the rest of the season. I swapped with him, so I'm going to have it this time for the next 3 weeks. And after that, we're going to make sure that that is not in play to avoid any shenanigans moving forward. Now, to address the issue at hand, Stugots, if you said you're going to do it and you were let off the hook, you're going to have to do an hour this week.
Okay.
It's even a compromise. It's not even a full show. If you said you'll do an hour, do an hour.
All right, tomorrow.
Why don't you just do it today?
I don't want to do it today. I had DQ last night. I mean, come on.
What are you gonna have? What are you gonna have tonight?
I have no idea. I mean,
This is what I'm thinking. Then you're going to have to do it in the live hour tomorrow if you're doing it tomorrow.
Why?
Because if we're doing it, this is the compromise. You do it tomorrow, it's a live hour tomorrow. If not, you could do it, one of the hours today that's not live on YouTube. Or the
so
live hour tomorrow.
You're giving me a choice of a non-live hour today as opposed to a live hour tomorrow?
But it all goes on YouTube. It all will end up on YouTube.
I'll get back to you on this.
All right. Well, you have until the end of the local hour today to decide. And
I'll let you know tomorrow. All right?
Wow.
That's not the end of the local hour today. You have until the end of the local hour
tomorrow.
today.
Yeah. We'll circle back.
Let me explain to you guys what it is that happened to me last night during that Chiefs-Eagles game, because I got called away, as has been happening various times recently with family stuff. And so the last I had checked in on Chiefs-Eagles and the 3 bets I made on Chiefs-Eagles, the Chiefs were up 17-7 at the half. Here's what I have here are the 3 bets that I have in play with the Chiefs and Eagles game. I've got the Chiefs minus 2.5, because if they're ever getting points or under 3 points, I'm betting them, even though they have scored fewer second half points than any team in the league. They're averaging 5.2 points per second half. They're the second highest scoring team in the first half. They are dead last in the second half. They have not scored a touchdown since before Halloween in the second half. October 22nd is when they last scored a touchdown. I've got over 45.5. Keep in mind, it's 17-7 at the half when I check out of this game. But this was the killer when I check back in when I opened my iPad to where I had left it, which was 17-7. I open it, and this is how I find out that I didn't cash my 18.5 over yards on yardage for Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who
MVS
on one play sabotages all of the bets, sabotages all of them by making the one mistake that he can't make, because his entire career is just getting open for Rodgers and Mahomes there on that play. It's the only thing he does. There's nothing else in his game. The game is run 50 yards down the field and make sure one of the best quarterbacks ever hits me in stride. That's all there is. There's nothing else. Do you realize that they put it at 18.5 because he's not going to have 2 catches for 12 yards? The average is either going to be 0 or it's going to be 50.
He's got one shot.
And so it's a very frustrating feeling to open your iPad and all you've got is the ball going through the hands of Valdez-Scantling.
Did you take the over knowing the weather conditions at Kansas City?
I just always take the over with Kansas City. It hasn't worked out this year. And they don't cover very often either, as an added bonus over the last couple of years. But their defense is obviously very good, Stugots, and their offense isn't. Like, their wide receivers aren't any good.
No, they're not. But they won a Super Bowl last year with basically the same wide receivers. So.
Different offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
I get that argument. The different OC is a good one, although Matt Nagy came from there before, so they're keeping things pretty uniform. But they're worse than last year. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster, who I personally don't rate, but looking at this crop of receivers does present an upgrade. They brought new receivers into the fold. They're not good. Everybody that was there last year is worse. Valdez-Scantling has, I think, 6 of those types of drops this year.
I got a number for you. How about this? I hadn't seen this until this morning. You want to guess what percentage of passes Chiefs receivers drop? It's 9%.
Really?
That's too high. Far
Crazy.
too high.
Yeah.
Kelce had a couple last night, too.
He did. He had a fumble. I mean, I got a message for Travis Kelce, Dan, because he's a friend of mine, and I am telling you right now, he doesn't know this is going to happen, but it's about to happen. They lose more games, okay? He has a drop. He has a big fumble in that game last night. Big turnover, okay?
Yeah, 2 turnovers in the red zone for one of the best red zone teams we've ever seen, as long as Andy Reid's been there.
Yes, and Chiefs fans are they're going to start doubting Travis Kelce, Dan. If they lose a couple of more games, they're going to start to say that Travis Kelce is not as focused as he's been in years past. He is more focused on his relationship with Taylor Swift. He is more focused on doing his podcast with Jason Kelce. I'll get to him in just a second because that's a complete disaster. And he is more focused.
What's a complete
They're covering the centers on the telecast. They've never covered a center like this ever. They're showing highlights of Jason Kelce pulling and making blocks. And if I'm another center, I'm sitting at home saying, hey, I do that every single Sunday, and no one highlights it for me. What are you guys doing? So back to Travis for a second, okay? Dan, I'm telling you it's coming. Chiefs fans are going to come down on him on sports radio. I am telling you right now, because he's not as focused as he's been in years past. And because he's not focused and he's one of the leaders of the team, the captains of the team, everyone's going to criticize him and say, where's your focus? You've lost your focus. And they're going to start getting mad at Travis Kelce. He doesn't see it coming. He's new to the game. I'm telling him right now, it's going to come.
Wait, are you doing it, though?
I'm not doing it.
He's new to the game.
Did you think Travis Kelce was celibate last season? Like he wasn't going out anywhere or doing anything?
This is different, Billy. This is, you got families meeting in suites, even though the Swifts didn't show up last night. You have Taylor there, then she's not there. They're 4-0 when Taylor's there. They're on, they're below 500 when she's not there.
Haven't been to his games.
No. His focus is he's not focused on football. He is shooting 1 million commercials. Okay, this is not me. This is Chiefs fans.
Great from Stugotz.
He's also a dear friend. I think you said.
Yeah, he's
not
a good
saying
friend.
it.
He's not saying it.
No,
No,
it's great by
he's just
Stu.
saying it's coming.
Yes.
It's
just a warning to Travis, my friend. It's coming, unless you get your act together and you start focusing on football again. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I don't care.
You're not even saying it.
You're a Hall of Famer in my book. It doesn't matter. You're one of the great tight ends to ever play football in my books. It doesn't matter.
I thought
okay?
I had seen all your tricks.
But if you don't think the Chief fans are going to turn on you, you have another thing coming. That's all I'm saying.
Why don't you just tell him if you're his friend?
I mean, listen, maybe I'll shoot him a text later on and warn him and tell him what's about to happen. We'll see if he changes his ways. But, I mean, start focusing on football.
We're not worthy.
Seriously.
Is it if you think X, you have another thing coming or another think coming? What is the saying? Is it thing
Another
coming?
thing coming, yeah.
Why would it be think?
Because if you think X, you have another think coming.
Wow, I've always thought thing.
I'm asking. I don't know which it is. I've always said thing as well. I'm asking.
I subscribe to Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Can you look it up for me?
It's a top Google thing. Like this is a real thing that it's a debate. Is it another think or another thing? But also, second result is you've got another thing coming by Judas Priest.
Ah, yes. Hey, Dan, listen, this is not just limited to Chiefs fans. It's also like I can imagine Patrick Mahomes whispering right now to somebody, okay? Kelce, not focused, not nearly as focused as he's been in years past. And that's a bad thing to do. It's a bad example to set as a leader and captain of that football team. It's coming.
Dan,
I'm telling you right now.
This may actually seem like a legitimate tomato thing in which the ocean that separates us from the United Kingdom is the difference. Another think coming seems to be more popular in the UK. Whereas we don't use think as a noun often here in the United States, so it's pretty universally here in the U.S. another thing coming, which is weird because I believe Rob Halford is not American.
When you think of proper English, don't you believe that in the UK they'll get it right more often than we will?
No.
You don't? Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. When it comes to proper English, who does it better, the English or Americans?
Now, make sense of this. Rob Halford's from the UK.
Dan, imagine you're Creed Humphrey. Do you know who that is?
No.
The Chiefs center. Imagine you're him, and you're pulling the same way Jason Kelce is pulling. You're making the same blocks Kelce is making, and Troy Aikman is not singing your praises on the telecast.
I think he's got another year.
Yeah.
He looks great.
I mean, they're trying to drag him back for another year. He doesn't want to play anymore. His wife said enough. I mean.
Well, Creed Humphrey almost allowed someone to intercept a pass between his legs. So
That was wild.
Classic Creed. I mean.
Let's talk about that one for a second because I had never seen that before. Last night, and this is a thing that happened. I couldn't believe that it happened, and it almost happened successfully, Stugots. Are you done with Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, or did you have any more on that bone? Are you done? Have you said everything? Because you said you had a message for everybody involved with the Kelces, and I thought you were going to go after Donna, who doesn't actually need a police escort. Come on, knock it off, Donna. Donna Kelce's wandering around the stadium with a police escort.
You have a message for a Kelce?
You got me in the mood there with all your messages for the Kelces.
I'm concerned about him. I mean, I love Travis.
But do you have anything else for Jason, or are you just generally done?
No, it's not. Listen, it's not Jason's fault. He created a great podcast, the #1 podcast in America right now. Everyone is infatuated with his family. My wife's going, oh, I want Jason to win. He's never beaten Travis before. I'm like, what? You care about a center? You care about a football player?
What about Creed Humphrey?
Enough is enough.
Creed Humphrey was #1 ranked center last year, by the way.
Okay. So
no attention.
I'm sorry I didn't know the name of Creed Humphrey.
That's the point.
Yes, that was a good point that you made.
I saw that Donna was doing the thing for a chicken fast food joint where she was like working in a drive-through and she had a shirt half green and half red. Drive-through workers have to hate that, right? Like this publicity stunt. It's so demeaning. It's so like, oh, wow, look, here I am. I'm the common man working at Walmart.
What can I
Here
get
am,
you?
working at a drive-through. Oh, my gosh, this is so much fun. I wish I was a cashier at Walmart every day.
Famous people like cosplaying is just like the lower class is the most annoying thing in the world. I've seen so many influencers being like doing like at Walmart, like scanning items, being like, this is so much fun. Shut up. You got paid millions of dollars to be here. I hate it. I hate it so much.
I'm Tyreek Hill in disguise in Germany. Oh, hello, everyone.
A terrible disguise, I might add. Like
It worked, though. It always works for him somehow.
I mean, it did work, but it's because he looked so comically, cartoonishly ridiculous.
And has terrible fake voices,
Why would
too.
Tyreek Hill be dressed that way in Germany? It doesn't even make any sense. But getting back to what you were saying about what would have been the most amazing play in football history, if it had been executed properly.
We got to paint the picture for the audience.
Patrick Mahomes is trying to spike the football. He's in a hurry. He wants a timeout, and he's going to spike the football. Jalen Carter of the Philadelphia Eagles times this perfectly so that he goes straight through the legs of the center whose name I still can't remember, even though Stugotz just mentioned it.
Creed Humphrey.
And got the ball. The ball was thrown and hit him in the hands because he timed it perfectly, which cannot be easy. Again, between the legs of the beloved Creed Humphreys, and the ball bounced up and was almost an interception.
Would have been the SB play of the year if he catches it.
It was so smart.
It would have been a turning point in the history of football, correct?
Spikes would forever, like, take a step back, then spike it. Forever.
Right. Yeah.
Greg Schiano got run out of football because he kept in these situations sending
Still
people
coaching Rutgers.
at the knees. Well, professional football.
He'll
excuse
always
me.
be there, Mike.
Professional football and good college football.
Yeah.
He got run off to the
Fair enough.
fringes,
Your point's
the
in.
fringes of Rutgers. You can make the argument Rutgers is the worst program in the last 100 years.
Bowl eligible Rutgers.
Yeah.
He's got another run in him.
And we have him to thank for the whole Connor Stallions thing.
He's got another run.
It would have changed. Put it on the poll, please, Juju. If Jalen Carter had made that interception, would football in America have been changed forever?
I've watched it about 24 times.
It's great.
I'm honestly mad that he didn't make the play. I'm like, I can't.
And you had the Chiefs.
I can't criticize MVS for not catching a ball that hit him right in the hands.
A little overthrown if we're going to be critical.
What, the spike?
If is it going? You saying if
Put a little touch on that.
if we're going to be critical, you should have heard Chris Cody saying if you're the center, if you're Humphreys, you got to close your knees.
I mean, you
there.
do. I mean, you have one job there.
Because you got to expect that. You got to expect the play that would have changed
Just
America.
a little, close it up.
Expect the unexpected, Dan.
Well, we've also been talking about Jalen Carter and his form, and like poor form. You got to go in there with the arms closed, so when he spikes it between your arms, it hits your forearms, and then it just lands on them, and then you scoop it up. That's what's happening today around America, around the country. Really, is everybody's kind of figuring out this is doable, and this is how it should have been done.
It was the real drop last night.
We just had a picture on the screen of his arms cupped under, like he's cupped under the ball.
That's
as-
after the ball bounces.
ball's in the air.
You got to start in that
Bounce,
position.
bounce, right.
If he starts there, bounces right into his face mask, and he's good to go.
God, what a hilarious review that would have been. John Perry, talk to us about this.
I bet you they would have been talking about the center then.
Got no goddamn clue,
I bet you
guys.
there wouldn't have been any
Center's
complaint.
got to close his legs.
That's what I'm talking about.
Jimmy Butler tried to bring back the skyhook last night, Stugots. He yelled skyhook as he was taking the skyhook, correct? He was yelling the words skyhook. Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra said after the game that Pat Riley's very happy about this because he's been trying to bring back the skyhook as a, it's the most unstoppable. I'll make the argument, could we not, that in basketball the skyhook was the most unstoppable play in the history of the sport?
Yes. In fact, I think it was.
Was and is, right?
Yes.
Remains
right.
that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's skyhook was not something that other people could block. So Jimmy Butler does that last night. Duncan Robinson is shooting out of his mind, Stugots. And I don't know if this is sample size theater or marked improvement, because when you look at the numbers on what Duncan Robinson is doing, they have been offensively percentage-wise overwhelming. Like, he is shooting better than anyone in the league shoots.
Bam, too, as well, seems to have taken a step. I mean, like you said, small sample, but if these two both keep doing what they're doing, I mean, that's definitely an improvement.
I would ask Mike, as it relates to Bam, is Bam having the season you finally wanted him to have?
Let me see. Let me look at the stats from last night. 4
right.
of 12, 0 for 4 from 3. I'm sorry, that's Victor Wembanyama. I'll find it.
If I could, though, I should point out to people, and this doesn't make Daryl Morey correct, but Daryl Morey has said, and I can't dispute it very much, that you know what a player is after 3 years, that there aren't other steps to be taken in basketball after 3 years, that what you've seen from Bam and what you've seen from Duncan is, the way they do the evaluations in that sport, what they are. That there's not a whole lot of, you don't have Bam all of a sudden becoming someone who improves his range and stuff, but it does look that way against very bad teams so far this season. Those two players look better than they have looked.
It just seems like he's looking to score now, where it's in the past, it was just kind of like some games you'd see it in him, but now it's just like, I'm going to get my 20 this game.
I've also thought a lot about what Daryl Morey said, because Daryl Morey, I think we all respect him as a basketball mind, and his numbers tell him things pretty definitively. But also, how does the data change when you have an organization like the Miami Heat that, I mean, over the last few years, it's proven that they can make marked improvements on players.
But in the first 3 years, what hasn't been proven, although Jimmy Butler would be, he's a better player now.
He's taking more threes now. What do you feel about that?
But I'm just, I don't love him taking threes in general.
I mean, it's going to be he's going to need to be more effective from the outside as he ages.
But that's a great point, Dan. What do you do with that? Because Butler got better midway through his career. I mean, a lot better.
He was always
always very good,
but not a guy who could lead a team to the NBA Finals 2 times in 4 years.
Like that year with Minnesota, in which they had injuries. He was a pretty special player there. I hear you. The end result is he's carrying teams and bending over scores tables, going toe-to-toe with LeBron in one of the greatest finals performances we've ever seen. Yeah, clearly, at that age, that's the best basketball he's ever played, but also it would kind of thumb your nose at the fact that maybe that was always in him.
I'm just looking, Stugots, at the sample size of everyone who's ever played the sport. And if a guy who's invested in measuring what athletes are going to be tells me that the way they generally do it, with very few outliers, is we know within 3 years what a player is, what his ceiling is. I'm going to say that with very few exceptions, I'm going to believe that person. But Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler can disprove that theory if I give them 82 games to do it. I'm not going to do it the first month of the season.
So I'm trying to figure out why Duncan and Bam are making these leaps. And I guess the best thing I can come up with, when we're watching Duncan Robinson and Bam Adebayo over the last few years, the frustrations that we have with them, it's mental. It's an approach. This isn't exactly Jaylen Brown not being able to dribble with his left. Like, I can't. Look, I'm trying. I'm trying to correct that. There are mental aspects to the game that kind of jump off the screen. Bam, be more aggressive. We've been screaming at it. At our television for years.
Because you're watching someone whose strength you know to be, and athleticism you know to be, even though he's undersized for what it is that he's doing. It's rare in that sport, Stugots, when you're watching someone like Bam and he's more of an athlete than most of the people he's playing against.
Right.
Like you can just see it. It is rare in that sport. I think people have this with Anthony Davis some too, but you don't get a lot of what Bam is getting where people are watching and they're like, yeah, you're an all-star, but how about this part about you're stronger than everybody and just back somebody in or just take it and do what he did earlier this week where he's just dunking on somebody, where he's just putting a shoulder into somebody and then dunking on them because you can't do anything about it because he's too strong.
I don't want to be a party pooper, but man, this Heat schedule over the last
Yeah,
month
they're
has
easy
been,
games.
But I mean, there's something to be said for beating these teams, right? But they are getting fat off of some flat tracks here.
They are. With Bam, though, for Mike, it's just the consistency. It seems like every night he's bringing it. Like last year or the first few seasons with Bam, he would have big night, then a clunker. It seems like every night's a big night now.
We should give them their flowers while they're doing this at a high level right now, because there were times during the regular season where Bam certainly wasn't doing it, and Duncan Robinson, it's been a couple seasons. I mean, quite frankly, we've never seen this out of Duncan Robinson. But I do think I want to see it in the playoffs as an accurate take here.
I'm also curious whether Duncan Robinson might feel some freedom from the thing that was testing and challenging his mental toughness which is, well, Strus and Vincent aren't here anymore to take all of the minutes because they're shooting from everywhere on the court without fear. It is more his than it has been. He's not being chased down by other people who are on small contracts trying to make money.
I mean, he would go in years past and would have to hit like one or two of his first three shots. If not, they would take him out. Now he has a longer leash. You're right. I mean, it frees his mind up a bit.
But he's also like Caleb last year was way ahead of him on the depth chart, played 21 minutes to Duncan's 30 last night. So he's also just playing well.
Correct. Let me show you some video.
I love Jaime Jaquez.
He's been great.
I love him.
So do the Heat.
I mean, what a fit.
They're playing him all throughout the fourth quarter.
He's big. He's got the old man game already because, in part, he is an old man. Like, he came into the league fully formed.
He looks like a 10-year vet.
Dude, he is such a great fit. A big point of attack defender that can switch off. Did you see what he did to LeBron? That's one of the few, I guess you can categorize that as a good win during this stretch. What he did to LeBron was really impressive. I know he's older, but he just strolled into the league. To have that weapon there, it's just such a culture fit. I hate to say it. Culture.
Well, they trust him early, and they usually don't. They're trusting him late in games for fourth quarters the way that they started to trust Caleb Martin, but it took them 3 years to trust. Or how long did it take them to trust Caleb Martin that way in fourth quarters? And that kind of competition ends up making all of them a little bit better. But their coach, just so that you know, okay, so we're clear on this, Eric Spoelstra's crazy. Just so that you know, he keeps it hidden and you don't see his fangs that often. But what gurgles beneath him is very much, I'm not here for these players to like me. My job is to make them better. And that can't be so if they're always liking me. And so I want to play for you, Stugots. I want you to look at the body language on Spo here before a Nets game the other day.
Okay.
When a reporter is asking him about the difficulties that the reporter is presuming the Nets obviously show the difficulties against the Miami Heat, that he is not willing to accept the reporter's premise that the Nets bother the Heat.
You mentioned their injuries, and obviously your injuries are well documented. I'm curious, regardless of what lineups are out there, what have they done that have caused you guys difficulties in the last several games?
I'm not going to concede that. I mean, this is just competition. We got to figure it out. Whether they think they've handled us easily or whatever, I don't know where that's coming from. But we'll just they're a good team. You have to respect that. And they play fast. They shoot a lot of threes. They're a very good driving team. We do some things that we think we do very well, also, and. Now we'll just figure out, who can be the better team tonight. All right? Thank you.
Nobody gets up faster after a press conference.
He was so confused by the question.
Yeah, for those just listening on audio, he literally had to shake that question off.
Well, yes, I want to play it again, and I want the video team to freeze him at the moment of maximum discomfort inside of his own skin when the skeleton wants to come out and eat the reporter. The skeleton inside of his body is trying to get out, and Spo's skin is trying to keep it down because he's so irritated with the idea of somebody gives you trouble.
You mentioned their injuries, and obviously your injuries are well documented. I'm curious regardless of what lineups are out there, what have they done that have caused you guys difficulties in the last several games?
I'm not going to concede that.
Now,
I mean, this is
Stephen A. Smith does that
right
when
there, look.
Stephen A. Smith does that when someone else is talking. It's the beginning of the shoulders of a breakdance.
in
It's
slow
what it is.
motion, it looks like that thing when you want to like do a line with someone when they do the arms,
Do a what?
like the line.
The shoulders of a breakdance.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh,
There's also a moment where Spo realizes he's disrespected the Nets and he needs to compliment them.
All of the words at the end, all of the words about they're a good team and we have to respect that. All of those words were just because he realizes that his skeleton under his skin gave an obvious tell that he was just bothered by the suggestion that anyone would bother the Heat.
he's my favorite person in that organization. And he honestly has more of a reason to be more frustrated than anybody, considering what they talk to him about in off seasons, all these pursuit of superstars, and he just keeps making finals, and he keeps developing players into $15 million a year players. That guy's awesome.
I mean, do you realize how lucky this franchise is to just have Riley, Stan Van Gundy, and Spo?
They're the basketball Steelers. They've had like 3 coaches.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Kevin Lockridge.
And he still looks great. He still just looks fantastic. The hair's looking good. It's just, he's perfect.
That's a great haircut for him.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Can you say they've only had 3 coaches? No disrespect to Kevin Lockridge,
Lock.
who's the 4th of those coaches.
Those are teeny tiny gentry.
Yesterday we were talking about Brandon Staley melting down and the original meltdown that we saw that had the spit acidic phrase in it. What do you think my mood is, Jeff? I've told you that the aforementioned Jeff is my friend Jeff Miller, who covers the Chargers for the Los Angeles Times. All I do every Sunday is send him messages wherever it is that he is, making fun of him following at 60 this team around the earth.
He's probably at the Chargers game.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
He said wherever he is.
Well, wherever he is, they're traveling all over. That game moves.
Okay.
It's not always in the same place. Wherever he is in America, I text him to remind him that he's been covering a loser with the end of his career, where Justin Herbert, he had the best passer rating of anybody last week, but they lost because that's what they do.
Brock Purdy had a perfect one.
Okay.
He did.
Okay.
There we go.
It was perfect. I have in front of me, though, Jeff Miller has just texted me that he sent me something that our account sent out, and he just says, "This is too damn funny." Let's play for the audience what the video is that my friend, what do you think my mood is, Jeff, sent me here, of Brad Williams, the comedian, our friend Brad Williams, who was a Meadowlark correspondent at the recent Broncos game.
Hope he didn't have a beer.
Let's see what we've got here. The mood around the Broncos has changed a little bit, huh?
Literally, I'm looking up at my screen. Sal Pal has the Broncos as the biggest challenger to the Chiefs in the AFC.
Wow, back in the mix. Sean Payton, Coach of the Year. Russell Wilson back in the Hall of Fame.
What is Sal Pal saying?
The biggest challenger in the AFC to the Chiefs.
What?
I know, it's crazy.
They beat him head to head.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Based on what? Beat him
head.
They beat him head to head.
Yes. They played him. They beat him.
I mean, maybe.
But the Dolphins beat the Broncos.
Okay,
by a
but
lot.
here's the thing. We're watching it on mute, so we don't know. Maybe he's saying that they're going to win the division and they're going to beat the Chiefs in the division. I can't imagine what he's saying.
Well, let's examine this for a second because some people are noticing that the Chiefs haven't beaten anybody except the Dolphins, who haven't beaten anybody.
Right. Weird.
It is weird, but I told you, we somehow watched a game on Sunday that didn't pit winning teams against each other. Like all of the games we were watching, only Steelers and Browns had winning teams against each other. So you do realize that we can basically say that the Jets are the only team to have beaten anybody this year because they've beaten the Eagles.
What's funny about what's happening with the Broncos is people never want to disassociate a team's success with the quarterback, and people are assuming, yeah, Russell Wilson's playing well. No, he's doing the exact same thing. He was actually taking less chances. He's actually a pretty frustrating watch. This is all the defense. Their offense is actually worse during this stretch than it was when they were losing the games. What Vance Joseph has done with that defense is a story there.
I'd like to, if you don't mind, get that sound for me of Tom Brady on the Stephen A. Smith podcast because, Stugots, Tom Brady has put his voice on something, and he's been saying this for a while. I don't hear a lot of people saying what Tom Brady is saying about football. I don't even see what it is that Tom Brady is seeing when he says this. Is it simply a complaint, Stugots, about the lack of physical football? Is it just the flag football thing that people are saying? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think with Brady, it's interesting because football has changed. It's not as violent. And the quarterback play.
Hold on. This is like when
I thought
you're
you were
in
going to
high
play
school.
sound first.
No.
Yeah,
This is like when you're in high school and you're doing a group read and you're not following along, and the teacher calls on you to read.
Right.
So let's see how well you can fake it.
Okay. So
what did he ask you?
Yeah, ask the question again though.
No. That's
yeah,
not. No.
It's totally about flag football. It's totally, the rules to protect the quarterback. It's not as violent. They're not tackling as hard. Last night was football. Tom Brady had to be happy with last night's game because last night, that was football. That's football that I grew up watching. You had running back versus running back. You had Pacheco versus Swift. You had the elements. You had Kansas City. You had Arrowhead Stadium. Chris Jones is a menace.
So
was a violent football game that Tom Brady is a fan of.
Your Tom Brady take is talking about last night's game.
Yes.
Right.
Where did you drift off to? You were nodding the entire time.
I thought you were playing sound.
But where did you drift off to? Because I said
as soon as you called for the Brady sound, he's like, I don't got to listen.
I got to be honest. I got a text from Chris Sims, and I was reading it, and I wasn't paying attention to you, and that's not fair to you, and I apologize for it. It's insincere, but I apologize.
Let's play the Tom Brady sound.
Sorry,
on
Dan.
the.
That's where I thought you were going. The sound.
It's insincere, but I apologize.
Yeah.
When I was listening, at the time I was listening, you were throwing it to sound. And when I came back, it's kind of like you with the Chiefs bet last night. When I came back to you after reading Sims's text, you would change the entire game.
said several times, Stugotz, I was trying to talk to you, and also there was a blanket panic in the room because I needed the relief of someone else talking because I clearly had a frog in my throat.
Right.
So I asked you like 3 times.
Well, I started talking, yeah.
Yeah, but not when you were supposed to start talking, as if you were listening and understanding what it is that I was saying.
Well, I was telling Mike in his headset, hey, let's get our guy some water here. He's choking.
All of us were saying,
right.
talk.
Yeah.
We were all pointing at you like that was to you.
Right.
In fairness to Stugots, Sims texted him.
Yeah, he did. And I was being the best teammate I've ever been. I mean, I was. Ask Mike. I told him right in his headset. I said, Mike, water. Let's go. Agua.
Are you taking your shirt off today or not?
We'll see. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Well, no, we had until the end of this hour, and we're 5 minutes away.
Where's the Brady sound?
I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past.
Why not?
And
why not?
I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it's been. I look at a lot of players like Ray Lewis and Rodney Harrison and Ronnie Lott and guys that impacted the game in a certain way, and every hit they would have made would have been a penalty. You hear coaches complaining about their own player being tackled and not necessarily, why don't they talk to their player about how to protect himself? We used to work on the fundamentals of those things all the time. Now they're trying to be regulated all the time. Offensive players need to protect themselves. It's not up to the defensive player to protect the offensive player. A defensive player needs to protect himself. I didn't throw the ball to certain areas because I was afraid players were going to get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality.
Wow.
I didn't throw it to the middle when I played Ray Lewis because you knock him out of the game, and I couldn't afford to lose a good player.
Nailed it.
He looks tremendous.
He does.
Even for him.
Yeah.
Like the year away from football, if it's going to be a year away from football, I still haven't closed the door. But the tan, the skin, he looks incredible.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a point that he made about just I wouldn't throw it to the middle of the field because Ray Lewis would knock my player out of the game.
He's comparing like some of the best safeties of all time, top 5 linebacker of all. Like, yeah, not most players aren't those guys.
Well, let's examine certain portions of this because I want to say what the hell is he talking about. However, clearly, vastly more expertise. Clearly, than anyone listening to this about what it is that he is watching.
Than anybody in the history of civilization.
And a longevity to play through several eras of the NFL to actually give you that firsthand experience.
But he sounds like every old player who has retired from the game complaining about how it was better than in my day.
We did the fundamentals. Like, we taught guys how to not get concussions.
It also ignores when he says, well, we'll legislate it now, that all of the rules changed the moment he got hurt. Like they changed the rules when he was the one who was injured. So what he's complaining about is something that was legislated by the league in order to protect him above all others.
To keep him healthy, yes.
Have you guys missed him this year?
Yes.
Because I think when you're watching the NFL, you're just excited for football. But a lot has been made about the primetime unders, and another one cashed last night. And I have a whole theory that we're getting a lot of primetime unders and a lot of bad primetime games, specifically because he's not in the league right now, occupying a lot of that prime real estate. I miss him a lot. I don't necessarily miss him in Tampa. Baker Mayfield's been fun. I just miss him in the NFL, making games feel like an event and scoring and rising to the occasion. I miss Tom Brady.
He's acting, though, as if he didn't play during that Brock Osweiler year I was complaining about. Like, I don't watch today's NFL and think the things that he thought there. I don't think I'm watching a mediocre product. I think I'm watching the product at the very height of human athleticism and precision that is also trying to navigate and legislate its way around the labyrinth of all of these people are going to be hurt because it's beyond dangerous what you're watching. It's not sustainable to keep human beings healthy for an entire season. Like it's not. Maybe you've got an assortment of tough guys who can play through everything, but Travis Kelce is now being quoted, Stugots, who doesn't miss very many games, as saying, you have no idea how much I think about retiring. I'm spending a lot of time thinking about retiring because my body hurts so much.
Mm-hmm. Started dating a billionaire. I'd be thinking about the end, too, a little bit. We tried scooping up reasons as to why the Chiefs' offense isn't as good, and we're blaming the receivers, and you're accurate to point out, well, they had very similar receivers last year. No one wants to just admit that. Defenses are better. All the defenses have been built over these last few years to stop what they're seeing in Kansas City because it's a cheat code. It damn near gets you into the Super Bowl every year. They're built to stop the read option, as they were when Kaepernick was destroying the league with the Niners, and now the Eagles are trying to do it. Like, you can only dominate for so long. Tom Brady is the only person that knows what it's like to dominate throughout eras. And he went up against these brilliant players that were just designed to knock people out because that was the only way that you can that's the only way that you can stop this guy. It's a great era for defense, and that is not sexy. Not nearly as sexy as him.
He does look great, and
Fantastic.
You're not joking when you say getting the football off of him has probably refreshed him, because I don't think we understand all of that brutality.
But look at the difference between this clip, how good he looks, and that Ring video doorbell of Bill Belichick leaving that place in Worcester. Like, look what the separation has done to both of these individuals.
Good audio.
Jalen Hurts is now Stugotz 23-2.
Winner.
As the starter for Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. Do it in the Super Bowl.
Well,
he did. He was the best player in the Super Bowl. He's a winner, Dan, but do it in the Super Bowl. You got to cap it off. This is the best chance guys like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Tua, they've ever had of winning a Super Bowl. Why? Because Mahomes is not as good as he used to be. That offense is not as good as it used to be. Burrow's out. Rodgers is out. They all have opportunities here. Go get it, Jalen Hurts.
What?